This is our presentation on business and economics in the Merchant of Venice by Cassie, Morgan, Jaron, and Nick.
The topic of business and economics is a common issue in today's society, just as it was a strong and centered problem in the Merchant of Venice. While there were many instances where economics came into play, there were four main points we identified that upheld the topic. Those points include the relationship between Bassanio and Antonio, Portia and her courtship, Bassanio and Portia's relationship, and the interaction between Antonio and Shylock.
So the first point that the Merchant of Venice deals about business and economics is with Antonio and Bassanio. Antonio and Bassanio are very close friends, and their friendship means the world to them. They are also both businessmen, where Antonio is a wealthy merchant, but his wealth comes from very risky business ventures. And Bassanio, on the other hand, has almost no wealth at all and gets his wealth by asking people to loan him money. This is where business comes to play between Antonio and Bassanio. Bassanio is in love with Portia, and the only way he would be able to see her is if Antonio would be able to loan him money. Antonio, however, can't loan Bassanio money because all of his wealth is currently invested on his recent business venture that may fail. So Antonio goes to Shylock, a Jew merchant, to ask for 3,000 ducats for Bassanio. Shylock agrees only if Antonio will be able to pay him back, and if he can't, Antonio owes Shylock a pound of his flesh. The reason Shylock wants Antonio's flesh is because Antonio doesn't believe in interest, and because of how rude Antonio has been to Shylock for how he is a Jew. He seems to think a pound of Antonio's flesh is equal to what has all been said to him. Antonio, in the end, agrees because he wants his friend Bassanio to find love and live a happy life no matter what the cost it will be for him.
The second aspect in which business and economics is shown in the Merchant of Venice is Portia's courtship. Portia is initially described as a very rich woman, and it's repeated several times throughout the play to remind the audience. Portia's courtship alone is seen as a way for suitors to get out of their financial debt, as later shown by both Bassanio and Portia's relationship. Bassanio mainly treats the relationship and the courtship as a way to solving his financial problems and getting him out of debt from Antonio.
Looking at Bassanio and Portia together, we can see in this play that they're very quick to fall in love. Right away, they're initially tormented by the idea of choosing the wrong chest, as they both just want to be in each other's presence for as long as possible. Bassanio eventually chooses the correct chest immediately, and they end up going into a very rushed wedding because of Antonio's troubles. We can see that also Bassanio again enters this relationship with the idea that he is in love with Portia, but he also enters the relationship to solve his own financial problems. Looking at Portia in Antonio's troubles, she offers to settle his debt when she snuck to the trial, and again and again she defends Antonio throughout the process, and in the end of the play they end up falling in love and living far away, or going back home and living out their life, love and prosperity.
The relationship between Antonio and Shylock was heavily based on the topic of business and economics. Both men were businessmen, Shylock a Jewish businessman and Antonio a Christian one. However, their take on economics was a bit different, which is evident in their economic relationship. Shylock tends to scam more money from people by charging interest on his loans, taking the easy way out. Antonio, on the other hand, takes a hard but possibly more successful route by using his own ships and transporting business to make money. He essentially is working for his money. When both men's economic views come together, they clash. Antonio requests a simple business transaction from Shylock. However, Shylock takes his economic scam to a personal level by holding Antonio to a ruthless repayment plan, a pound of his own flesh. Eventually, karma comes full circle, and Shylock, who had more money in the very beginning, ends up with virtually nothing, as opposed to Antonio, who didn't have much in the beginning but finds out some of his ships did indeed make it back and is able to continue living his life. We are taught through this relationship that life is what brings wealth to a person, not the amount of money someone has.
So today, business and economics are still common issues in our society, and we even see a lot of the same type of issues in the play The Merchant of Venice. Mostly every encounter a person has with another person, there is always some sort of business deal or bargain that happens, whether it deals out of love or hatred.